You're listening to Let's Imagine, an Imagine Canada podcast for everyone interested in social issues and the nonprofit sector. I'm your host, Bruce MacDonald. At Imagine Canada, we believe that by leveraging our national vantage point, building cross-sector relationships, and sharing and developing our knowledge base, we can advance social, economic, and environmental justice through our collective action. Join us as we dive deep into conversations that have big implications for the nonprofit and charitable sector here in Canada. A special thank you to our supporting partner, Carter's Professional Corporation. Together, let's imagine a stronger future. Like many other nonprofits, at Imagine Canada, we've been exploring various artificial intelligence tools and the benefits of integrating AI into our work and processes in a more intentional way. AI is on everyone's mind nowadays, and it would be an understatement to say that AI is transforming the workplace, including the nonprofit landscape. This is especially true in one of its most critical and time-consuming nonprofit functions, grant writing. In this episode, we sit down with Deepa Chaudhary, founder of GrantOrb, a pioneering AI-powered grant writing platform, to explore how artificial intelligence is reshaping the way nonprofits secure funding. We'll examine the opportunities, limitations, and ethical considerations of AI in fundraising, especially for small to medium-sized nonprofits that often operate with stretched resources. From practical tools to bigger questions about trust, creativity, and equity, this conversation offers both guidance and reflection on the evolving role of AI in our sector. Deepa, thanks so much for taking the time to be on Let's Imagine, and welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm really grateful to be on this podcast.
So before we dive into the tech itself, we'd love to hear more about your origin story. Deepa, how did GrantOrb come to be? And what gap were you hoping to fill in the grant writing process?
Yeah, so for people who don't know me, I'm a social entrepreneur. I've been in the nonprofit sector all my life. I've done my master's in social work. So that's my background, but I've always worked at the intersection of technology and social impact. And in 2023, I was writing a book on internet native impact organizations. So think of them as nonprofits, but they are native to the internet. And I wanted to really research them and find out how they operate. And so we did a pretty intensive research, and we were writing a book about them. And I got a grant for that project, but I needed to design a really nice book cover. And I, for some reason, didn't budget a visual designer in that. So 2023, AI was just happening. It was in, very early AI. We had this amazing platform called Midjourney. It's an text-to-image platform. You could just describe in words what image you want to create, and it'll create image for you. You don't need to be an artist. You don't need to be a designer. You should just be able to communicate what is it that you intend to create. And I used that platform to create an image for my book. And I was stunned. I was like, wow, this is beautiful. Like, I literally just said 2 sentences in terms of what is it that I needed, and it created such a detailed image for me, and I was like blown away with that technology. And this was even before ChatGPT came into the world. And I was like, oh my gosh, how can we apply AI for the nonprofit sector? Because as a nonprofit professional, this is something I've always struggled with. I couldn't create beautiful graphics. And, you need to communicate your story. You need to be able to tell your story. You need to stand out in the social media scene. Visual storytelling is so important. And so that was my aha moment. Like, how can we really apply this technology to the nonprofit sector? And looking at all the time that I've spent in the nonprofit world, I was like, what is it that takes most amount of time? And grant writing came to my mind. Even though I've done everything in a nonprofit, because you end up doing everything in a nonprofit space, like you're not just fixed to one role. But grant writing is something that I really did a lot. And I was like, wow, that takes so much time. Like, you have to stop everything what you're doing, and you have to just sit and write grants for like 4 to 5 days, 6 days, put in so much effort. Sometimes you don't even get that. And so how can we apply AI for grant writing? And so that was the moment when I realized that I need to apply AI for grant writing. And in late 2023, we built a pilot that we tested out with the grant cycle opening. Very popular, like all around the world, like people apply to get listed and raise money. And we built a prototype. It was just like one pager that people could just describe the idea, similar to Midjourney. Just describe your idea. What is it that you're seeking funding for? It doesn't have to be perfect English. It can be just broken, like a broken sentence. And it generated the most compelling one pager based on what they said that they want money for. And so that was a pilot, like 50 people came and used it. And I thought mostly people who have language as a barrier would use, because, submissions are all in English. But it was amazing to see a lot of people from, English native countries also use that platform. So that was really eye-opening. And in 2023, after the pilot, then we just built it out for doing multi-page proposals, because some proposals can go up to 10 pages. So how can we take that brief description and be able to write like 10-page document out of it?
Well, it sounds like it's been an interesting and learning-filled journey as you've been launching this. I mean, going back to 2023, really at kind of the genesis of AI, and it's come so far in such a short period of time. So for many nonprofits, like the pressure to secure funding with limited time that they have and limited staff, this can be overwhelming. And AI intuitively seems poised to help, but how exactly? So from the work that you're doing, what are your observations around how AI is helping organizations navigate the challenge of time-consuming and high-stakes grant writing? Where are you seeing them being able to make the best use of AI?
Yeah, I mean, there are many ways to do it. Like, for instance, at GrantOrb, we've designed a system which is specifically designed for grant writing, so they don't even need to know how to use AI, or they don't even need to know the grant writing skills. They can just come and describe what their project is, and the AI creates an outline based on their brief description, which can be 2 or 3 lines. And they basically review the outline and say, okay, this is good, this is good, this is good, or this is where I need to make changes. And once they confirm that, the AI takes about 2 minutes to write it out. So now this task of writing out itself takes so many hours, right? And rewriting and fixing grammar and proofreading and like going back and forth with that. So it really reduces like what would take weeks down to, at least with GrantOrb, down to 5 minutes. And we've AI powered many other things to help them, like in terms of understanding eligibility. Like that itself is daunting, because sometimes the grant guidelines are so complex. Sometimes the words used are something that a lot of people can't understand. What is it that they are asking for? Health equity, what does that really mean? So AI really simplifies a lot of that language. It simplifies understanding eligibility criteria. They can just do like hit a button and on GrantOrb and see how they fare against that grant. Like, can they even apply? Should they even go ahead with it? So we've really built in a lot of things to streamline the entire grant writing process. Just doing the research, like you need to support your proposals with data. Like, what is it? What the problem that you're trying to solve? How big is the problem? The funder wants to know that. How many people don't have access to something? They would want to know the numbers. They would want to, if you're proposing a solution, they would want to understand if it's an evidence-based solution. So they can do this kind of research with chatbots. Now, something they would have to do it otherwise themselves. Or with GrantOrb, again, we have a research agent that does it for them automatically and plugs in those data points in the proposal. So it has really made life easy for people writing grants. It has considerably reduced the time spent on all of these activities. Just understanding the guidelines, doing the research around data, and help with writing out.
Yeah, it's an interesting, as we've witnessed the speed with which AI has become more mainstream. Now, while many folks are leaning into it, experimenting and trying it, it's not universally loved at this point, but it is a powerful tool. And with its rapid emergence, we're seeing legitimate concerns being raised. Things like its environmental footprint and energy consumption, ranging to questions about how personal data is being used, and even fears around job losses. So as someone situated at the center of these conversations, what's your advice for how we can collectively navigate these concerns while still engaging thoughtfully with AI technology?
Every technological progress has required energy consumption. We moved from dark ages to being electrified. That boosted our productivity. We could work after sunset. We didn't have to limit our working hours to when the sun was out. And then we moved to the internet, and it just created opportunities for so many people. And sometimes we don't look at what's happened, but we are looking at what's happening with AI right now. But AI is another big leap, a big transformation, and it is energy hungry, and we will need to create more energy. But if we see, a lot of data centers are now run on geothermal or alternative sources. So it's a very new technology. And as time goes, like, people will find more efficient ways to power these systems, more alternative ways to energy sources to power these systems. So it's so young. It's just 2.5 years old. And so, yeah, there are all these and anything new is scary, right? Like, anything, it's unknown, like, it's disrupting our status quo. Like, we work like this, and now suddenly, oh, what will, like, there's so much fear around it, and there's so much, but as a social entrepreneur, like, I have found it to be my best friend. I'm using it like crazy, because things that I couldn't do, like, I couldn't make videos, like amazing Hollywood style videos to communicate my cause. I've been making those videos, and they're so powerful in storytelling. I've been creating graphics. I've been coding. I'm not a coder, and I'm able to code. Like, so it gives me the skills that I never had. I have all the skills now. So if we really use it in our sector, I'm so excited about it, because our sector never had the people to begin with. Like, we could never hire all the people that we dreamed of that have in our team. We could never have hired sometimes people of the right skill sets, because we just didn't have the money, So this removes all of those barriers, because it gives us an excellent, like a really super team that we now have at our disposal that we can use to do more good. Rather than being bogged down and trying to do 100 things ourselves, we can just assign it to AI, and AI can do it while we focus on a real mission work.
Yeah, it's interesting because you've defined yourself as a social entrepreneur, and it's interesting in the examples that you just cited. You're prepared to take a bit of a risk in order to do that. Entrepreneurs do that. They lean in and discover areas of new opportunity. And I think sometimes in our sector, not all organizations have the same capacity or appetite. And sometimes that's governed by mindset, and sometimes by resources and capacity. And so in our sector, we've seen conversations or heard conversations that there's a perception that AI is only for large or well-funded organizations. So from your perspective, how can smaller nonprofits, especially those that don't even have tech teams, get started with AI tools in a way that's both accessible and sustainable?
So in the case of AI, it's actually different. There are the small organizations that are adopting AI faster than bigger organizations. Because for the first time, the machines can speak a language. We don't have to speak in their language. We don't need to be technical. We don't need to understand technology to be able to operate technology. We can literally speak to AI in our language. We can command it in English or in Spanish or in whatever language. It's multilingual. It can understand all forms of languages, and it can do stuff for us. So what we're seeing, like, broadly, not just within the nonprofits, but broadly, what we're seeing is that smaller organizations are the first to adopt it, because there's a real need. They just are constrained. They don't have the people or the resources. And so they're the first ones to go with AI, because now AI gives them that one extra person they didn't have, And it's an easy technology. It's free. Like, you can get started with any of the chatbots. They have a free tier. You don't even need subscription sometimes. You don't even need to sign in. You can just start off having a conversation with the chatbot, and it can do things for you. So, and most of the AI tools are pretty reasonable. Like, they aren't super expensive. For $20, you can have a video. You can create like Hollywood style videos. You can create graphics. You can do entire research on, what are the best evidence-based practices to address your cause. You can ask anything you want. Like, that is inexpensive, I would say.
And so, Deepa, just picking up on that, though, is there any advice that you would have for organizations, maybe small and mid-sized organizations, who are seeing this opportunity as it relates to the types of policies they should have in place prior to deeply engaging in AI? Are there any basic, like, one or two policies covering specific areas that you think they should have before they get really going?
Yeah, I would say, like, they should have policies around maybe the kind of images they want to create, because you can create any kind of images, right? Like, so maybe policies around that, policies around the kind of content they would want to create with it. I think that would be the only one that I see, because when we previously too, like when you use stock images or stock photography images, there are always clear guidelines around images, right? Because that's so much of your communication is now visuals. And so you need to certainly have certain policies around that. In fact, in my organization, we have an AI first policy. My engineers are like, don't come to us for anything. Whatever you need, ask AI first. So, and that has really built my AI muscle. For everything, I'm like, AI is my thought buddy. I'm like, literally have a chatbot and I discuss with AI about things. And it really improves the quality of my own thoughts up to a point, because it does have all the knowledge of the world. And so whatever I can't compute, AI already has it. And so it adds to what I've already thought. So it's a friend. And I think, again, going back to the fear factor, like once we learn this technology and make AI a friend, a lot of fear that we have around AI will disappear, because you will realize that humans are still needed. Humans are in the loop every time. Like AI is doing the work for you, but you need to check the work of AI. You need to review the work of AI. So yeah, those kind of things, I think that should also be part of the policy. Like don't let just anything that AI generates go out of the room. Always check, review the work, a few guidelines to just guide the employees in case they miss on things like that.
That's great. And it's funny, I've been trying different AI tools myself, and I find my natural tendency to say please and thank you coming in, because some of the interactions feel so real with the different agents that are being created that when I'm asking for things, I feel inclined to be polite, even though it's an AI agent. But one of the areas that we've heard too is that biases can creep into AI models just as they exist in traditional systems. So how can we ensure that AI tools don't replicate or reinforce existing inequities in funding processes?
Yeah, so I've actually written a big article on this in terms of how AI can democratize public goods funding. But essentially, AI is a reflection of our society. It is trained on human knowledge, and that's why the biases are there in it. And it's easier to fix the biases in AI because you can ask AI to follow instructions and watch out for biases, and it will follow instructions, so it can be goal maximizing. So in philanthropy, for instance, in grant making, if you set instructions for AI that, these are like 100 proposals, and we want you to review these proposals for, this is what we're looking for, this is our end goal, this is what we're looking for, then AI is completely blind to the name, to the location. All of those things trigger biases at times, where you're based, what your last name is, what your first name is, like all of this can trigger unknowingly certain biases, but AI is blind to all of that. And AI will then just be goal maximizing. It will, whatever you've set as the instructions, it will follow those instructions. So you can build ethical AI systems.
Terrific. Now, real world stories or examples can help at times to demystify new things like technology. Do you have a story where AI helped a nonprofit improve its grant success, or maybe even in combination, significantly reduce their workload through the grant writing process?
Yeah, many stories, but I'll cite one from Canada. We have this amazing nonprofit social enterprise in Toronto working on food security and providing employment. And the executive director, she does have a team of 50, but they're all people engaged in the field work. And so she is literally the only person sitting in the office and managing 100 things. And she's gone from having this big aversion for grants, like, oh, I just can't do grants, to like writing every grant that she comes across now because it just takes 5 minutes. Why not? Like, let's do it, And I speak to her a lot, and she's got these amazing ideas about how can you upcycle leftover food and turn it into dehydrated food and then provide it, as meal kits to seniors and stuff like that. Like amazing ideas to address food security and food waste. But she never had the time to sit and write those grants. And now she's writing grants using GrantOrb, and GrantOrb has helped her win grants. So that's amazing. That just shows how stress-free one can be when you have a tool like this. So you don't have to, a lot of nonprofits don't engage in grant writing because the process is so daunting. Like a lot of small frontline organizations will not engage in grant writing. Either they'll sit at midnight and write grants, or they would just not do it because you have to literally drop everything that you're doing to write grants. So it kind of levels the playing field. So if foundations are seeing that a lot more organizations are applying for grants, the increase is because the smaller nonprofits are now applying for grants. In terms of due diligence, there are already so many guardrails built into our grant making system that you just can't have any random organization apply just because you have the tools now. Before the foundation even looks at the proposal, they look at whether they are a registered charity or a nonprofit. Have they submitted the audited statement or financial reports? What's the list of board of directors? So they do a full due diligence on the organization first before they even look at the grant proposal. So it's not like a lot of people would think like, it's cheating, but it's not really cheating because this is literally grant proposal is just a vehicle to communicate your idea to the donor, and AI just facilitates that process. Just, it's still your idea, it's still your proposal.
Yeah, you can really see how AI can be a game changer in the cost benefit analysis when thinking about the amount of time invested by an individual or individuals writing grants, the probability of success, and what that success looks like in terms of dollars. If AI can enhance organizations' ability to reduce that cost, there's an opportunity for them to apply to more and ideally with a higher probability of success. So for organizations that might be listening to this episode, if they were looking to get started, from your vantage point, what's the one first step they could take after listening to this episode? If they've been sitting on the sidelines and now they say, you know what, you've made enough of a case that we're going to give it a try. What should their first step be?
I would say become friends with AI and start using AI. Take any chatbot, Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT. Now we have many more. Initially, we just had ChatGPT and they're all equally great. Start using chatbot in your everyday life. Don't just say, or also I think it's a lot about behavior change, right? Because this is a new technology. We didn't have this. And now suddenly it takes effort to open a chatbot and discuss your thoughts with them, or your programs that you want to discuss because it doesn't come naturally. But force yourself for a week. Just do it for a week. Like everything that I'm doing, I'm going to do it with the chatbot, and have maybe a policy like ask AI first, instead of going to your colleague, which is fine, but ask AI first. And that will really build the habit. And you will realize that a lot of things that all the fears will definitely vanish, like about AI, because you will see that your input is also needed. AI is not an autonomous system. It can't automatically do everything. Your inputs are needed at everything. And your quality of programming will improve. You will have more time for yourself, for your family. You will be less stressed. I don't stress about anything now because even if I have a big thing to deliver tomorrow, I'm like, I have AI, I'm just going to do it with AI. So I'm not stressed at all. And I think in our sector is actually screaming for help. People are stressed, overwhelmed. I feel like this is the best thing that's happened to our nonprofit sector.
Yeah, some great thoughts. And maybe I got to add one from a personal perspective. I know as we were here at Imagine Canada starting our work on AI, I personally was a bit nervous because we really hadn't got everything in place yet. And one of the things that I did to try and get comfortable with AI is I just started working with it on non-work things, a fitness program, vacation research, those kinds of things, just to get comfortable learning how to create well-crafted prompts, understand the power of the responses, but didn't do anything that actually exposed any organizational data or insights that we weren't ready to put out there yet. So it was also a way for me just to sort of test it and try it and see what the potential was. And it was, in some cases, kind of remarkable. It was, to your point, it reduced hours of research to mere minutes, especially once my prompts got a bit crisper.
Yeah, I think what's important is the ability to communicate clearly with AI. And a lot of people think what we've seen is that the expectations of AI sometimes can be very unreal. Like they'll just put a word and they expect that AI should just know now based on this one word, everything that's in your mind and what it's expected to do. But you need to communicate just as you would communicate to your colleague. This is what I need to get done. You need to provide the whole context to AI. Like this is what I'm working on, this, and then it will be able to do a more effective job for you. It's a very smart, dumb assistant who needs clear instructions.
A smart, dumb assistant. I'm going to remember that one. So as we wrap up at Imagine Canada and on the Let's Imagine podcast, we always look to the future. And we know that there's a lot of hype in this space. So as someone who's building and is sitting at the intersection of tech and social impact, What excites you most about the future of AI in the nonprofit sector? And what about AI and its potential gives you hope?
I've been excited about AI since the day I discovered it because it really addressed all my pain points being in this space, really constrained and capped by lack of resources. So what really excites me is that AI gives all of us in this space the ability to do things that we could never do before, to fully realize our vision. We could never fully realize our vision because we are just struggling with mundane jobs, repetitive tasks and things like that now we can just hand it over to AI to do it. And we can do more higher level thinking, more top level thinking, more imaginative thinking about whatever we are doing, how can we do it better? So it gives us that headspace to think big and be more creative about the work that we are doing rather than just continuing to do it because we just don't have time to think. It gives us time to think, I would say, and make this world better. And it's so important for even people that we are servicing. Like I've worked in a lot of emerging markets as well. And I've seen if we can just, if this technology can be handed to people on their devices, which will happen very soon, where AI will be available on your device, you can unlock so much knowledge that people can use to help themselves. And even within Canada, like in remote communities, there are no doctors available sometimes, or they need help with something. They can just chat with an AI. And so we need to build all these systems that are really fine-tuned to the local knowledge, to really knowledge that is very unique to that locality, because then it can really unlock a lot of things for people.
Well, this is great, Deepa. It's been a pleasure having you on as we think about organizations who have already started to experiment, started to learn, started to interact with AI, and also for those who they're still testing the waters and thinking about, is this something for us? Your insights and observations and learnings have been so helpful. And thank you again for taking the time to be on the podcast today.
Thank you, Bruce. My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to the Let's Imagine podcast. For full show notes and to subscribe to our newsletter so you never miss an episode, please visit our website, www.imaginecanada.ca. Also, if you really like this episode, we invite you to leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to this podcast, as this helps other people discover us and engage in these conversations. And again, thanks to our sponsor, Carter's Professional Corporation, for supporting our podcast.